Niklas Schaufler, Ian Eyckmans and Christopher Feghali are only the tip of the rookie iceberg in the new Spanish Winter Championship, and all of these youngsters have hit the ground running on their car racing journey. Hello and welcome, fellow motorsports fans. There is nothing quite like an exciting rookie class to spice up the beginning of the racing year, but we have of course also seen plenty of action across the Middle East and New Zealand with our first Formula Racing Champions of the Year in the books as well. Lots to get through, so let's not waste any more time. We begin with the E4 portion of the Spanish Winter Championship. The naming convention might still be god-awful, but man, seeing these grids finally gave me that rookie buzz I've been craving all year. If anyone had the feeling like the rookie classes in the F4 Middle East and the Formula Winter Series aren't too compelling, this is why. They are all racing here instead. Between Campos' trio of Vivek Kanthan, Miguel Costa and Noah Montero, MP youngsters Ian Eyckmans and Niklas Schaufler, and the other Red Bull junior Christopher Feghali, the rookie crop really delivered, both in terms of good results, but also the expected teething issues and chaos. Especially Schaufler immediately continued his hit or miss form we know and love from karting. I've got no doubts we'll see him dominate some races this year, but he has also shown a whole bunch of issues to sort out before he can be a title contender anywhere. Of course, this is a lot to read into a single weekend for a rookie, but on paper, Schaufler is the most interesting prospect here for me, so he deserves that level of attention. The entire weekend has been dedicated by Campos at the front, with Jan Przejowski positioning himself as the favourite so far, although he did get competition from Thomas Strouven and some of his rookie teammates. Strouven just suffered a key incident already in the messy sprint. The entire weekend was rather messy across the board, truth be told. René Lammers and Nathan Tighe showed that MP and Rodin can put up a fight too. Tighe, the star charger of the first race to really put his name out there, and Lammers finally with consistent drives forward, the very thing he just couldn't do last year. We talk more about the midfield as the year progresses, but I do want to highlight a couple of disappointments. First of all, debuting Emma Felbermeyer could not quite match fellow rookie Kyo Lee, although she did at least compete well enough with the other women. Yanni Stephen Haydens had a bit of a shocking weekend all around, considering it's his third year in the car and he is coming off the back of an intense title fight in the French F4 where it went down to the wire last year. Yeah, sure, he was a decent midfielder, but I doubt that was the extent of his ambitions. And last but not least, I had hoped for a little more from the Carras brothers, as they appeared to be really struggling even well in the midfield. At least in their case, we lack good teammates to compare them to, so they can get the benefit of the doubt. And of course, Stephen Haydens aside, these are all just rookies anyway, so we shouldn't judge them just yet. Before we move on, one last shout out to Andrej Petrovic, returning after a disappointing half season in Italian F4 last year, and he pretty much hit the ground running immediately, even inserting himself into the podium fight in the third race, even if he couldn't quite keep his defense up long enough. The Eurocup 3 portion of the Spanish Winter Championship was also heavily dictated by the rookie class, in fact way more so than in the E4. Mattia Colnaghi continued the excellent form from Spanish F4 by winning from pole right out the gate and just about retained the championship lead as well. Maciej Gladysz was equally impressive, even though his particular maiden win was helped big time by Nikola Tsolov. We'll get to that in a second. Andres Cardenas, James Sigozzi, Juan Cota and Jules Caranta all had their own opportunities to shine, with podiums for every single one of them. This is shaping up to be an epic war over the full season. Even Oscar Wirtz had a solid rookie run, all things considered. If the rookies are doing well, the returnees must be a little disappointing. And this was very much the case here. Most importantly, F3 graduate Niklas Schaufler just can't seem to find the kind of race win threatening performances expected of him given his experience. And the one time he was in position, he fucked it by going too aggressive on well-defending Jules Caranta. I would say this isn't a great sign for his upcoming campaign, but with the caveat that I was never particularly impressed with his few Eurocup 3 outings so far. Similar story, albeit less disappointing, for Tazin Trpuvazek as well. Kasper Sztuka was competing in a similar bracket to the pair, but for him this is a more impressive achievement given his comparative lack of experience in quick cars, aside from that dumpster fire F3 campaign last year. Him returning for a full season here really is a great opportunity to get his single-seater career back on track. Although to do so, I'm slightly afraid he needs better results than he'll be able to produce. The debut was solid, but he needs wins and podiums going forward. Emerson Fittipaldi had a decent returning drive, but I think if you get comprehensively beaten by a bunch of debuting rookies, then this still kills any sort of distant title dream, in my humble opinion. For the last Formula Regional Oceania round, it was all about the big race, the New Zealand GP, as the crown jewel at the end of the season. Aussie supercar star Will Brown couldn't have picked a better moment to perform, ending a somewhat rough weekend with an excellent getaway to take the lead before managing the race all the way until the checkered flag. Supercar's teammate Brock Feeney had a rough race, but I still want to highlight the excellent run he has had to even put it on pole despite this being his first weekend of the season. Outside of these two wildcards, it was really largely the kind of runs we've come to expect at this point. Lindblad consistently at the sharp end, securing the title well before the last race, leaving very little room to doubt his ability. In the same vein, Zach Scular also really cemented himself as the lead rookie, while also deciding the highly anticipated battle for P2 in the championship for himself along the way. Nikita Johnson just about missed out, but got another reverse grid win for himself. The contrast to vastly more experienced teammate Matthias Zagazater was rather huge, despite the pair only separated by a single position at the end. Last but not least, Patrick Huizenrode absolutely deserves a shout out. Yes, he ended the season with horrific luck, wrecking out at the start of race 2 and suffering what appeared to be mechanical issues in race 3, please correct me there. Nevertheless, he made the most of securing pole position for race 1 by taking the lead and his maiden victory with relatively little competition. Probably still the best we've seen from him so far, despite the double DNF. As a little conclusion to the season, I think it is fair to say that along with Zach Scular, Huizenrode probably impressed the most when compared to our expectations going into the season. In the Formula Regional Middle East, Evan Giltaire now finds himself leading the championship thanks to his consistent ability to fight at the front, while Freddie Slater is still looking to replicate the sort of round 1 magic he's shown. Although I have said it before, I'll say it again. He is a rookie with only a single season of F4 under his belt. He does not need to win the title to look like the best kid on the grid. Further away from the title battle, we had a good weekend for the R-Ace GP camp as well, with Yugi Chugwu taking another step forward to take a dominant victory, and Akshay Bora finally also showing up to fight in the upper midfield proper, while Toyota junior Jin Nakamura held off Rapid Slater to take his maiden win against European opposition in the reverse grid race. The high count of Japanese drivers on the grid is rather remarkable anyway, with Shu Yamakoshi having a solid enough debut considering he's driving for Pinnacle, while Kanata Lee and Taito Kato had a rather scrappy weekend, but still both showed glimpses of pace. Big shout out to Teo Final for absolutely dominating his Centerlock teammates and dragging the car into the podium battle race after race. Remarkable racecraft from the young Frenchman. Unfortunately, Yamakoshi aside, the mid-season debuts didn't go well for the most, with Jacob Bergmeister, Xian Puchoi and Dorian Parr struggling considerably. Pa especially needs to pick it up going forward, or I'm afraid we'll be slowly running out of excuses for her. She may have never competed in this specific championship on this specific tyre, but she has almost an entire year in the car under her belt against a grid full of rookies. In the F4 Middle East, the epic RASGP versus Prema brawl at the front has not disappointed this weekend either. RSGP may have led the way in terms of pace, but we still got our fair share of great battling. Most importantly, Keen Nakamura-Berta and Alex Powell going toe-to-toe in the last race with a superb duel. Definitely check out this race if you've missed it. Truly the junior Formula rivalry that keeps on giving. Powell has finally overcome his streak of bad luck properly this weekend, even if it might be a little too late for a true championship attack, with how clinical Emanuele Oliveri has been all year. Although we all know one happy little accident could change the entire dynamic. Two key figures we've not talked about yet deserve a shout out as well. Rino Franco and Adam Alazzari, both for their remarkable consistency while presumably on the back foot regarding equipment. Both are absolutely wiping the floor with their respective teammates. Alazzari stands out especially by going up against sophomore August Reber with little to no resistance. Overall, this grid is producing a surprisingly consistent looking upper midfield race after race. Quite unique for this level of competition, and unfortunately supporting the idea that the F4 Middle East isn't quite living up to the high standards from previous years. Let me know whether you agree with this assessment or not. That may have been all the broadcast Formula action, but of course we've got some news, and before that our quick weekly karting report. For this week's karting report, we've had the second WSK Supermaster Series round, where in the mini under 10s, Josh Bergman, Andreas Papagiorgio and Daniel Pasquale put on a great show at the front, but I do want to highlight young Robin Räikkönen. Even if the results sheet doesn't quite do it justice for various reasons, I thought this was his best European karting weekend yet, and I think we've seen enough to suggest he'll be fighting for podiums and wins in no time. Mini Group 3 may have been largely the same protagonists, with the likes of Nicolo Perico and Mason Robertson running well, but really the highlight of the year has been Xavier Lazaro so far. He already had a strong run last time out and just fell a bit short in the final, and here he one-upped that performance by controlling most of the final for what I believe should be his maiden victory in the class. Portugal is back on the map. OK Junior saw fantastic success for the Williams Academy as Dean Hugendorn won in controlled fashion out of fellow Prema driver Noah Baglin, who yet again had to settle for P2, while further back Will Green picked apart the midfield to end up in a surprisingly convincing P3 at the end of the race. As a personal highlight, Bruno Priam, or is it Priam Bruno? Please let me know, they keep switching it up every broadcast. Either way, the young Belgian had a fantastic second weekend in the class as well, making up a mental 20 positions to take the best of the rest slot in P4. As a former frontrunner in Mini and the FA Academy Trophy, we've surely got more great things to come from that kid. OK Seniors also had it all, with the heavy hitters here to play. Dries van Langendonk and Zach Drummond were the main lead battle, only for a rapid Filippo Sala to come in for the steal on the last lap. Thanks to a penalty for Drummond, notorious Spaniard Christian Costoya found himself on the podium instead, ahead of Noah Wolf, Lewis Bauer and Jacopo Martinezzi, a lineup of people we'll surely see on the top step at one point or another this year as well. Overall, I can't help but admire the epic consistency of Dries van Langendonk though, even if he didn't get the win here. KZ2 was finally back in style, with superstar Christian Bertucca immediately back to what he does best by winning pretty comfortably, although pseudo teammate Daniel Vasile was actually the faster man at the end. We still had solid results for youngsters like Orlov and Schormans, but I want to highlight a different story. The team, formerly known as Maranello, has taken up a new role this year, now running the Formula K factory operation, while the Maranello factory is now run in-house out of Italy and not by the German-based team anymore. This means the former Maranello team are now competing in new, slightly less sexy blue colours, but they still hit the ground running, with Marcus Kayak putting in a proper star performance to charge his way to P3. We've had more karting over in the US as well, but of course I am always trying to keep this karting report as short and concise as possible, so I won't be covering this here today. Instead, let's finish on our quick news section. Aside from various F4 announcements, we've had two key stories so far this year. First up, 2024 Karting World Champion Ethan Jeff Hall has been announced as a new Mercedes Junior, adding to the extensive list of top-tier karting prospects. He is set to compete in British F4 this year, and I've got zero doubts that he is an excellent signing. And even if I can't confirm this, I suspect he is the kind of driver really relying on that sort of outside funding from an academy, so really good for him. On a related note, I hope we get to see all the other Mercedes karting juniors hit the track again soon, because they were all noticeably absent from the karting scene so far this year. Second, Alex Dann has been confirmed to take up the remaining Roden F2 seat. Yeah, sure, his rookie campaign left a lot of room for improvement in F3, but given the fact that he is generally on the more experienced side, I'd say this is a reasonable step. Fair chance to prove if the potentially showed in his rivalry with Antonelli holds up on this level as well. With another seat confirmed, we are also getting rather close to a proper F2 prediction video for 2025, so watch this space. Just for completion's sake, I want to mention that there was also some US Winter Series racing on the Formula side, but unfortunately there was no broadcast whatsoever, so you'll have to wait for your NA fix until St. Pete instead. As always, it has been a lot to cover this week, but I still want to hear everything about your opinions down in the comments. Let's get a good discussion going. And otherwise, I thank you all for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.